All right, folks, it's time for another report, wide world of fantasy football and sports in general. And of course, we are in the middle of bowl season. Any time of championship for yours truly is out of the picture. That's right. The Sucker Bowl is over, and I lost that as well. As a matter of fact, I thought I was going to be making it a move into the next round and found out that that was not the case. There were some things done in terms of checking out the scores, the stats, and I wound up not making it to the next round. But that's what happens. Sometimes you hope for a good year, and sometimes it just doesn't fall in your way. I also made some tactical mistakes and things along those lines, but who knows? Maybe 2022 will be a better year in fantasy sports. 2021 is in the books, and this was not a good year for giving you the blues, the name of my team, and all of that. I'll be giving you a report later on as to who's moved on to the next round and what I think they might be doing or who might be the crowned the champion of the league and all of that. And who knows, maybe Terrios pop in and telling me that he's won a lot of money with his league and all of that. But there's a lot of things going on, even in NCAA football. That's right, it's bowl season and all of that. As a matter of fact, there's a game going on right now. Kent State is playing the Wyoming, and Wyoming is losing right now. They're down 24-21 and all of that. So that's what the score is. But they do have the ball, and they're 35 on their own 43. So who knows? They might still pull off a victory yet and all of that. But who knows whether that'll happen or not. There've already been some upsets in the bowl season. UAB has already taken out the 13th ranked BYU by a score of 31-28. And I'm sure that Liberty was saying that they put up a whole lot of points up there against EMU. That score was 56-20 and all of that. And then there's some other games that I'm seeing that have finals include USU against Oregon State, and that game went 24-13. And then in another game that involved a top ranked or top 25 team, that's right, it does look like one of the teams that was supposed to win did pull off the victory that folks were expecting them to do, since they are top ranked and they were playing against Marshall, and they did win. So Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns won that match 36-21. So that particular match they won it 36-21. And like I said, that's what happened in that particular match, and they were 23rd ranked. And like I said, the Utah State Aggies beat the Oregon State Beavers by a score of 24-13, and that game was held earlier today as well, or actually held earlier just in general, and things along that line. So that's what's going on. We do see that Appalachian State went down, hoping that we're going to get a win from one of our teams here in the Carolinas, and we still have some others that will be representing this state. But in the game that Appalachian State played against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, it was not a pretty game. 59-38, whole lot of points scored. Don't know that there was that much defense in that particular game, but they did take the L. Those fine folks from up there in the mountains in Appalachian. So that is what happened in that match. And I'm sure that there might be some people upset about that result and people that might be glad about that result. Oh, in terms of teams from the Carolinas, how about the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers beating Northern Illinois Huskies by a score of 47-41. And so that is a team that represents the Carolinas, and they definitely did some good work, including stopping NDIU in the red zone to win its first bowl game. That's right, they won a bowl game in that sense. So we're glad to see that they won that bowl game and are continuing to move on and all of that. So that is good news on that regards. So they won that one. And then we're going to see what happens in this other match, which is the Kent State Golden Flashes playing against the Wyoming Cowboys. And that's right, the Kent State Golden Flashes playing against the Wyoming Cowboys. And that game looked like it was a tight game at halftime. That's right, we're at halftime right now. It's 24-21. So we did say that that's what was going on. And it was a tight match. And right now it's at halftime. It is 24-21. So that is what is happening in that regard. I am curious, and it's been a couple of days since that result happened. What happened with Jackson State and their match against South Carolina and all of that? Because that was supposed to be the mythical Black College Championship, and all of that. And that was on the 18th. So I need to find out what happened in that match and who won that match. I'm going to do a little bit of research right here with y'all and find out what happened in that match. And maybe y'all have some thoughts about the results, because we do know that a lot of folks are very much big into their MEAC teams, as well as their teams from other HBCU colleges as well. So very much curious to see how they did, particularly since they were representing the state just down from us over there in definitely that area of the Southern Carolinas, not the Northern Carolinas, but the Southern Carolinas. So very much curious to see how they did. And of course, Jackson State is led by a um, definitely somebody that is known throughout the area in the sense of being a national football figure, that being none other than Deion Sanders. But it looks like they won. South Carolina State did, and it looks like they shut down Jackson State in their Celebration Bowl, winning 31-10. So some folks that I know that have faced against folks like the teams that are in that same conference might be glad to know that South Carolina State won and all of that. They said South Carolina State's Shaquan Davis was the kryptonite for the highly regarded Jackson State defense. Davis, the Bulldogs' 6'5" wide receiver, set a Celebration Bowl record with 3 touchdown receptions and anchored the Bulldogs' offense with a team high five receptions for 95 yards. Davis' impactful performance earned him offensive MVP honors, and Davis capped off one touchdown with the signature Deion Sanders primetime shimmy for good measure in the end zone. Sunday's performance was Davis' second straight with 3 touchdowns for the Bulldogs, and in his last 2 games, he's had 14 total receptions, 236 yards, and 6 touchdowns. When targeting Davis against Jackson State, quarterback Corey Fields Jr. went 5 for 13 for 3 touchdowns and 5 first downs. The defense was playing more physical. I wasn't getting no calls, Davis said. They were grabbing, pulling, pushing. I had to just get physical with them back. Davis's offensive performance was aided largely by the Bulldogs' defensive prowess. South Carolina State has lived all season with the pride of their program and the phrase, "the dog has to be in you, not on you." So the Bulldogs overwhelmed number 15 Jackson State 31-10 in front of a sold-out crowd of 48,653 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The victory extended the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference MEAC's reign in the Celebration Bowl wins, going 5-1 overall. And one of the things they said was South Carolina State kicked our butts every way, every fashion, out physical us, out through us, much more disciplined than us, said Jackson State head coach Deion Sanders. I feel we're overconfident and overlooked them as if they were just going to hand us the game. Interesting quotes, but definitely it looks like that's what happened. And the Celebration Bowl champions are none other than South Carolina State. So if you got a dog in that fight and you were interested, that is what happened in that regard. And we're going to find out some other things going on, including in the NFL. And then, of course, I'm going to bring up some things happening in the fantasy football world as well. So, a number of things are going on in that ranking. I'm sure that people are even thinking to themselves, what's going to happen with the playoff pictures. Because, I think only one team, the Green Bay Packers, have clinched so far in the NFL. That's right. Only one team has made that clinching bid, that being none other than the Green Bay Packers. And I've got some friends that root for that team, including some that are very much important in my life and all of that. And I'm not going to hold it against them, because maybe my Vikings can slide in and make the playoff bid as well. Because right now they have slid in to the number 7 seed, but they do have some rough games coming ahead, and I need them to get some wins in order to solidify them being in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see whether that happens or it does not happen. But I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that and hope that you will be doing the same. And, there's another team that I know a good friend of mine is a dear supporter of, and they've made a decision to twice go for a 2-point conversion. They could have won the games, and both times failed, that being the Baltimore Ravens. So one of the things that they said was, hooray, despite one of the most wide open NFL postseason races in recent history, we finally have an actual genuine playoff team. The Packers broke the seal on Sunday afternoon, not only clinching a spot in the NFC bracket, but also the NFC title, North title. But in a turn of events that fits the theme of this season, no other team have hit their clinching scenarios. As of this moment, 13 of the NFL playoff spots remain open, and only 5 teams are officially eliminated. Hate to tell my brother this, but the Bears joined the eliminated bunch on Monday. Most notably, the Buccaneers lost at home Sunday night, an outcome that not only stymied their own immediate chances, but also those of the Cowboys and the Cardinals. There are still 2 games remaining in Week 15 following 3 COVID-19 delays, but it will end without a AFC team clinching a spots. All of which means we're in for a wildly entertaining final weeks of the season, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Right now, Kansas City Chiefs are rolling right along, and they definitely have some good energy in that sense and everything along those lines. And like I said, Minnesota is at the bottom, but one of those teams that they are fighting against will actually be playing in a game. I believe it's slated for this afternoon and things along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regards. And also, if my Vikings, the team that I root for every year, can't get some wins against the Rams, the Packers, and the Bears. So they got some hard games in there and some games that maybe the teams won't be trying to go all that hard or anything. By the way, like the Browns and the Rams, Washington is hoping to get at least some of its key players off the COVID-19 list before taking the field Tuesday. That would be today against the Eagles. And of course, the Eagles are trying to do something as well. So that list includes multiple quarterbacks, including starter Taylor Heineke and backup Kyle Allen. If Washington can pull off a win, it'll replace the Vikings as the NFC's number 7 seed. Washington has a 10% chance to make the playoffs at the moment. The Eagles have to wait until Tuesday to play Washington, a delay that will probably minimize the personal advantage they otherwise would have had. But the worst part of the schedule change is that the Eagles will have to turn around and play the Giants 5 days later in Week 16. ESPN's FPI is giving them a 28% chance to make the playoffs. So that's what they is giving them, is a 28% chance to make the playoffs and all of that. So that'll be interesting to see if that happens or does not happen in that regard. So that's just some of the things going on in the sports world. And I know that others might be paying attention to things that are on their mind as well. If you're a sports fanatic or you got some concerns about sports or some things that you would like to bring into the picture, we would love to hear your thoughts about a number of sports issues that are going on a regular basis. So that being said, I'd love to hear your thoughts about how your team is doing and what their success rate is. Maybe you're going to make it to the playoffs. Maybe you won't, but it'll be interesting to see what people's thoughts are about how fantasy has been treating them and whether they see a good result, or maybe they've already moved on to fantasy basketball. I may need to get me a fantasy basketball team. I think I did have one year, maybe even a couple of years. Never did well in that either, but I did win one year, even though I didn't collect the money that I should have. That whole thing that they were doing with alumni and the things of that nature, it's that whole tournament that brought us the Elon ending and things along those lines. So I did root for the Golden Eagles, and they did pull off a win for me in the TBT tournament. So, like I said, I unfortunately did not do what I needed to do, collect the rewards. Who knows? Maybe I can do that now, even though it's somewhat late and all of that. So we'll have to check and see if that is even a possibility or not. But it'll be interesting to see what people's thoughts are about a number of these things and how they are proceeding to transpire and what is happening in their life. So that will be very fascinating. I'd love to hear people's thoughts about how their team is doing and whether they feel that this is their comeback week or not. So, like I said, it'll be interesting, and I'll be quite interested to hear what people have to say and what's going on in that regards. And I'm sure that many folks are paying attention to the playoffs in their individual conferences and how that is all transpiring. As a matter of fact, right now, as we continue our matches and everything, we've got some new teams that have been eliminated. But right now, it looks like that in upcoming matches, yes, it's going to be interesting to see who wins, who loses, and how they move on in this whole picture and all of that. So, like I said, if you got somebody that you're rooting for, definitely let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts about the folks that you're rooting for and how you're rooting for them and why you're rooting for them. So, if you've got any thoughts in that regard, we would love to hear them and hear what you've got to say as to how you are going to survive and things along those lines. So it looked like there was a tough match between them boys and our commissioner, the Raven Anteaters. But it was not much of a game after a while because them boys won 78.25 to 55.0 and all of that. So that is part of what was happening in that regards and how that was being handled. Do y'all have any idea who you would like to be in the playoffs and how your playoff teams are doing? I'd love to hear your thoughts about how your playoff team is doing and how you are handling this entire playoff picture. So if you got any ideas as to what's going on in with your football team or your basketball team, or if you think they're even going to maybe squeak into the playoffs in some kind of a small way, we would love to hear your thoughts about that and how you think that this is going to work out in the end and all of that. I'm going to check out something about some of these games and live scoring and much, much more. But right now, we're going to get ready to go in there and take a look at the picks for this week. I think I did make picks for this coming week. So we're going to see if we're going to stick with those picks or if we're going to change them in some form or fashion or another. So right now, let's see what we've got in the way of picks and whether we want to keep those picks or whether we want to trade them or not. So we're going to go look into the pool picks and see if we want to make a change or not and how we would make the change. It looks like I did not make any pick. Oh, I did make changes. So let's see. Right now we had the Kansas City Chiefs against the Los Angeles Chargers. That's for a Thursday game. I will keep that one. How about the New England Patriots against the Indianapolis Colts? These were all games from last week. So I need to see one, how my results are, and then go into week 16. We did not make any picks. So let's go ahead and make them. San Francisco 49ers against the Tennessee Titans. So, the Tennessee Titans against the 49ers. I think that I'm going to go in a shocker with the Titans, the home team. We've got Minnesota, or actually Cleveland against Green Bay. I'm going to actually pull a surprise. How about Cleveland winning a game? So we picked the Tennessee Titans. Now we're going to pick the Green Bay Packers. How about the Indianapolis Colts against the Arizona Cardinals? Let's go with another home team, the Arizona Cardinals. Then we've got Washington. And let's see what other games we got. Oh, the Patriots against the Bills. What do y'all think about the Patriots against the Bills? I think I'm going to pick the Patriots. Jacksonville, we're going to pick Jacksonville against the Jets. Hmm. So far, it looks like we're going for all home teams. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New York Jets? I think we will go with the Jaguars. First away game, the Baltimore Ravens against the All right, now we got the Ravens against the Bengals. I'm tired of the Ravens losing, so we're gonna pick a surprise. The Giants against the Eagles, we're gonna take that one. The Rams against the Vikings, we're gonna take that one. The Detroit Lions against the Falcons. Hmm. And whoa, that's ought to be a good one. The Buccaneers against the Panthers. I think I'm gonna take the home team, the Buccaneers. And we've got the loss. Oh, did we say the Carolina Panthers? Yes, we did. And we've got the Chargers against the Texans. Hmm. don't know how I'm gonna go with that. How about the Chargers and the Bears against the Seahawks? I think I'll stick with the Seahawks on that one. Kansas City has been rolling. Pittsburgh has been rolling too, but I'm taking Kansas City. Denver Broncos against the Los Angeles Raiders. The Washington football team against the Cowboys. We're gonna take the Cowboys, and we're gonna surprise people by saying, "Come on down." But right now, it's about coming on down to these picks. So the Dallas Cowboys against the football team, and I think I'll take a surprise the Miami Dolphins against the New Orleans Saints, and we're going to submit. So that is where we stand right now. So anybody got any idea of their ideas of who they think would do better in this football and in sports in general? We love talking about sports and seeing how folks' thoughts are about a number of sports issues. We do know that soccer is going on as well, and of course, basketball is happening with the NBA. As a matter of fact, let's see what NBA news is out there and all of that, and tell us how you're doing, and maybe you're doing better in that than you were in some of the other sports that are out there. And one of the articles is how the Phoenix Suns silenced the skeptics and became even more of a dangerous team. Their word, my words, not theirs, because I definitely think that they are a dangerous team and all of that. So that is some of the things that they said. By the way, it looks like the Hurricanes game was postponed, and that was in the world of soccer. And they are saying that some folks are not going to the Olympics because of COVID. So we're going to find out more about that in a second and everything. But let's find out what they've got to say about basketball and what's going on in the basketball world. So, at their first team meeting this season, Jared Jack just started as a Phoenix Sun assistant coach, stood to deliver some motivation for a team coming off an NBA Finals run. There are people, Jack told the group, who don't think you deserve to make the finals. The Suns' first three playoff opponents, the Los Angeles Lakers, Denver Nuggets, and the LA Clippers, were missing star players for all or most of their series against Phoenix. Some around the NBA wondered, yeah, the Suns were good, but were they mostly lucky? We heard the noise, Devin Booker, Phoenix star guard, says, but it was almost better hearing it from someone, Jack, who wasn't in our program last year. He confirmed it. As Jack continued, Monty Williams, the Suns' head coach, interrupted. Maybe they're right, Williams said to the skeptics. All the things they're saying about injuries, they're true, but it doesn't matter. We made it to the finals. We took advantage of the breaks everybody said we got. You all deserved to be in that position. Players appreciated the candidness. We don't do the pink elephant thing here, Chris Paul said. Whatever it is, we're going to talk about it. Williams and the team's veterans are good at addressing issues directly, but not dwelling on them. That had served them well in pressure situations, including amid the league's investigation of Robert Sarver, longtime Suns governor, over allegations of racism, sexual harassment, and other workplace misconduct, reported in an ESPN story. So that's some of the things that are going on in the world, and a lot of people are paying attention to. But I was wondering y'all's thoughts about some of these stories, and if you are at all concerned about what you're hearing about some of these things that are taking place in the NBA and just in the league in general and everything. So definitely that is something that some people are looking at, that they might be concerned about and might be wondering more about in that sense. And in private and public, you'll rarely hear anyone within the Suns mention the health issues they faced last postseason. Paul injuring his shoulder in the first round, then missing games 1 and 2 of the conference finals after testing positive for COVID-19. Dario Saric tearing his ACL in game 1 of the finals. With all that, Paul says of the relitigating injuries, you can only play the games in front of you. Last season was over anyway. Their final trips guaranteed nothing. If it was real, if it's not, we're going to find out, Paul says. The Suns were eager to resume their title chase. So it looks like they're definitely not taking anything for granted, and that they're trying to do the best that they can to be another powerhouse once again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regards. And, you know, the NBA is telling folks that the Christmas games may shift the times. And if COVID-19 forces changes. So that is definitely impacted. Its NBA teams with games scheduled on Christmas were told by the league on today the shift in some game times is a possibility for the planned 5-game slate if virus-related issues force changes to the lineup. The league told the team the priority is filling the ABC window for Saturday's games, which means the slots at 2:30 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern. For now, those games in order would have Boston at Milwaukee, Golden State at Phoenix, and Brooklyn at the Los Angeles Lakers. The other games on the Christmas schedule are Atlanta and New York at noon Eastern, and Dallas at Utah at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Both of those games are scheduled to be shown on ESPN. The league called the notions of shifting game times, which might happen if a game is postponed, a contingency plan in the memo distributed to the teams involved and obtained by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Decision on whether shifting times is needed could come as late as Friday. Any decisions made on Saturday to postpone a Christmas game would not impact the remainder of the day's schedule, the league said. The NBA has postponed 7 games so far this season, but none from Wednesday onward. About 75 players have been dealing with virus related issues this week alone in the NBA, with more than 100 having done so at least once this season. Some of the teams scheduled to play on Saturday have numerous players and coaches in the league's health and safety protocol right now. The Nets currently have 10 players on that list, which is the highest known figure for any known team. So that is what they're talking about in terms of the safety. Hey, how about Curry celebrating with an NFT? Let's get what this story is about. In the aftermath of his record-breaking game last week at Madison Square Garden, Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry has launched a new NFT collection to celebrate each and every one of those 2,974 made three-pointers. The 2,974 collection launched Monday at 2974 South Carolina, or SC.com, and it features a series of non-fungible tokens that are each individually numbered out of a total of 2,974, the number of threes required to eclipse Ray Allen's previous landmark of 2,973. Each unique NFT will be priced at $4.99, with Curry planning to donate 100% of his profits to Eat, Learn, and Play foundations that he and his wife, this wire, had actually been dealing with. So let's see. Oh yeah, he's planning to donate this money. And he's saying that he and his wife established this foundation in 2019. One of the things that he said was, "I'm very grateful to be able to share this moment with all of the fans, the entire Bay Area community, and everyone who has supported me throughout the years," Curry said. The custom created artwork of digital moments represent the Asian Bank in the year fame. So I said I was going to go for 200. Nobody's done it, but hey, might as well shoot for the impossible. That's kind of my motto. But let us know your thoughts around a number of sports issues and what is on your mind in the sports world. And we may do an abbreviated version of the show on this particular afternoon, but we always love to at least come by and give you at least a little bit of a sports report that you may or may not be interested in. But that's part of what we do is come in, give you a little bit of a sport break. And if there's anything that you've got on your mind, sports related, don't hesitate to call and tell us what those things may be and all of that. So we're always glad to keep folks informed about a number of issues. And of course, there are concerns around a number of folks around this pandemic and how it is impacting the sports world and all of that, because it's definitely having an impact, and it'll be interesting to see how this impact continues and things along those lines. I did say I was going to get to some of that NHL news because it does look like they were being impacted by the COVID as well. So we're going to see what's going on. And one of the things that they're saying is that Shane Wright is taking on generational expectations as the NHL's top draft pick. But they are saying that the NHL is skipping the Olympics due to COVID and everything because of the COVID surge. The NHL and the NHL Players Association have come to an agreement to not participate in the 22 Winter Olympics men's hockey tournament in Beijing, multiple sources told ESPN. The NHL and the NHLPA had negotiated Olympic participation in 2022 and 2026 into the newest collective bargaining agreement after NHL players did not participate in the 28 Olympics. In my understanding is that that's definitely one of those communist bloc countries, and they had not done anything in the sense of wanting to be unprotected and all of that. But who knows? We'll find out. By the way, it did say that they had those two groups, the NHL and the NHLPA, had negotiated Olympic participation in 2022 and 2026 into the newest collective bargaining agreement after NHL players did not participate in the 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. The only caveat for the Beijing Olympics, which is scheduled for February of 2022, was if the current NHL regular season was materially impacted by COVID-19 postponements. As of December 21st, the NHL has postponed 50 games because of outbreaks on teams and has paused its season through Christmas, apparently meeting that threshold. The NHL had until January 10th to opt out of the Olympic participation without financial penalty, and the NHLP said it expects a decision on participation to be made before that date. The formal announcement on opting out of the games is expected within the next 24 hours. So we might find out if this is going to be official or just kind of that talk thing that isn't really happening and everything. But by the way, looks like the Caps Flyers 50th game was postponed because of COVID. So the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers game scheduled for Tuesday night has been postponed. It's the 50th NHL game postponed this season for coronavirus related reasons. The league said COVID-19 issues with the Capitals prompted the postponement. That left the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Vegas Golden Knights as the only game left in the NHL this week. The League and Players Association agreed to begin the holiday break early and push off the games that were scheduled for Thursday. Of the 50 games postponed, 45 have occurred over the past 2 weeks with the Delta and the Omicron. Says of the 50 games postponed, 44 have occurred over the past 2 weeks with the Delta and Omicron variants spreading across North America. More than 15% of the league's 700 plus players are in virus protocol. A list that continues to grow. The Buffalo Sabres enter their holiday break by placing forward Jeff Skinner and Zemgus Girgensons in COVID-19 protocol. General Manager Kevin Adams said Girgensson is experiencing symptoms while Skinner and Vinny Hinostroza are not. Hinostroza landed in the protocol a day earlier. The positive test led to the Sabres canceling practice on Tuesday. The team has been off since a 3-2 overtime loss at Pittsburgh on Friday and had its 2 games against Columbus and 1 against Colorado postponed this week after both teams' schedules were paused because of virus problems. So it looks like this is definitely impacting sports, including hockey. So it looks like they're going to be on the break as they get ready to try to hopefully not have major outbreaks and get ready to deal with 2022 and are still dealing with this pandemic and all of that. It does look like there is news even coming out of the world of baseball. That's right, in the world of baseball, and it might even involve the Mets. So definitely that is something that is going on in that regard. So Nets, uh, Mets owner, I should say, that is the name of the team. Steve Cohen is an avid collector of art. His collection of Picasso and Doege and others reportedly worth many hundreds of millions of dollars. But one of his favorite pieces is Round, the baseball that rolled between the legs of Bill Buckner to end Game 6 of the 1986 World Series to give the Mets their greatest victory ever. The ball has been sold repeatedly and it became available in 2012. Cohen was told by a business associate it would probably cost something in the range of $100,000 to $150,000, as he explained last year to SNY. All rights, I'll do it. Cohen recalled saying, "It's a great moment in Mets history. Buy it." A deal was struck on Cohen's behalf, and it wasn't until afterwards that Cohen was asking about the financial prize, $410,000, and so it says that it looks like this deal was made. Ooh, that's a lot of money. It says the final price, 410,000. But in the end, Steve Cohen got exactly what he wanted, and an episode that mirrors now how he'll continue to run his baseball team. There was one managerial candidate available who checked every need for the best possible Mets hire. An experienced manager who with instant credibility with the players was considered an excellent tactician and someone who had worked in New York. And this is how Buck Schroemeyer now was hired. This particular person was not too pleased with that and was feeling that it wasn't fair in the least bit. Did you know Major League Baseball's Payroll has dropped. I did not know this, but apparently it's dropped 4% to 2015 levels. That's right. Major League Baseball's payroll dropped 4% in 2021 compared to the league's last full season, and the $40.5 billion total was the lowest in a fully completed year since 2015. Falling payrolls has sparked the labor unrest that led to the sport's first work stoppage in more than a quarter century this month, when the collective bargaining agreement expired and owners locked out the players on December 2nd. Payrolls are down 4.6% from their record high of just under 4.25 billion in 2017, the first year of the just expired CBA, according to information sent to clubs by the commissioner's office and obtained by the Associated Press on Monday. Spending on big league players has not been this low since a 3.9 billion title in 2015, and the Los Angeles Dodgers led baseball with a 262 million payroll in 2021, the second highest in Major League history, behind the franchise's $291 million mark in 2015. The Dodgers were hit with a $32.65 million luxury tax bill Monday as the sport resumed penalizing big spenders after a one-season suspension of the tax due to the pandemic. San Diego was the only other club assessed a tax charging $1.29 million after failing to make the playoffs with a roster led by Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Yu Darvish, Will Myers, and Eric Hosmer. 5 teams finished with $4 billion of the $210 million threshold, and definitely. So what do we got to say about these luxury tax bills? That's right. The Dodgers were hit with a $32.65 million luxury tax bill Monday as the sport resumed penalizing big spenders after a one-season suspension of the tax due to the pandemic. San Diego was the only other club assessed a tax, and they were charged $1.2 million after failing to make the playoffs. 5 teams finished with a $4 million of the $210 million threshold on payrolls as calculated for luxury tax purposes. They included Philadelphia, the Yankees, the Mets, Boston, and Houston. Wow, that's a lot going on in that particular situation. I wonder in his magic ball and traveling around what he's hearing about definitely Santa and there's other things that are going on as well. Because I'm thinking there might even be rumors that are put out there about Santa himself, and that's just wrong. But I think even the sport people would say that as well. So they might be saying, hey, wait a minute, that's not sports related. But sometimes Santa even appears at sports related events. I've seen that when I'm watching on TV. You'll be sitting up there and you'll see all kinds of characters. Sometimes even some characters maybe from the Star Trek and other things. So sometimes people take this as an opportunity to just hang out and do silly things. And that's not just here in the US, that is worldwide. I think I've even seen some crazy things happening out of cricket and out of soccer and a number of other things as well. Let's see what we can find out about Shane Wright. Apparently, he's taken on a generational expectation as the 2022 NHL draft's top prospect. So they're looking at him as being the top prospect. Shane Wright remembers the first arm he was asked to autograph. It was a forearm. I've signed a couple of them. He said, signing people's skin has been a little weird for me. Wright, 17, is a center for the Kingston Frontenacs of the Ontario Hockey League. He also is the consensus pick to go first overall in the 22 NHL draft. I know that Sasha's from Ontario. I wonder if he's ever met this gentleman. An autograph on a forearm would seem like a precursor to permanence. It's possible someone would turn that signature into a tattoo in honor of the NHL's next young star. I don't know about that, said Wright with a laugh. I hope no one goes that far. The fanatic attention comes with the territory. Wright was 15 years old when he first saw himself on a hockey card, the same age at which he was granted exceptional player status onto the NHL for the 2019-20 season. He was the 6th player ever granted that early admission into the league, joining names like John Tavares, Aaron Ekblad, and Connor McDavid, whose rookie points per game record he shattered with 66 points in 58 games. So the fans want Wright to sign their cards, their posters, their sticks, their jerseys, and on occasion, their limbs. It's definitely weird, he said. There have been 55 players taken first overall in the NHL draft. Of those, 40 were forwards. Of those, 29 were Canadians. like right and hmm, have to think of who that other person was and see what you got to say about that. But who are some of the players that you are looking for to get drafted in any sport? Let us know your thoughts about players drafts and who you might be wanting to get drafted if there is anybody that is really catching your attention in that sense. So love to hear your thoughts about the draft and what you are looking forward to within that draft. So definitely keep us informed. Let us know if there's anybody that you are really excited about in the sense of the draft. We're going to come to some soccer news. Soccer is definitely a sport that I've got an interest in and that I've always had an interest in. I definitely find it to be a fun sport and all of that. Apparently, somebody was sent off after they threw a ball at somebody. Well, that just sounds just wrong on a lot of levels. So let's see if what we're going to find out about this particular story and what folks may be saying about it in that regard. So definitely, it looks like somebody was just kicked out of the match. It was Sevilius Conte who was sent off after throwing a ball at Jordi Alba. So there might have been some jealousy, some taunting. There's no telling what was going on in that regards. But ooh, that looked like a hard throw too, because I just saw a look at it on my screen, and it was not a pretty sense in the least bit, and everything along those lines. That did not look pretty whatsoever. So I have to do some more research, find out what that was all about and what happened in that. And speaking of prodigies, and we were talking about prodigies earlier with that hockey player, how about in the tunnel of Toyota Stadium, Richard Petty poses during a photo shoot. The light morning feels perfect. The sun casts a shadow over a good part of the grass, which looks as green as anything that's ever been. The cool breeze rippling through the flags of Texas, the United States, and FC Dallas makes it feel like the season is finally changing after another hot summer. Do something with your hands, the photographer tells Ricardo. His voice echoes through the tunnel, as does the sound of the camera. Ricardo spreads his long arms to his side, his palms near his waist, face out with fingers almost extended. His chin high, he looks straight onto the lens. The Zen pose is what the photographer calls whatever Ricardo's doing. You're a natural, the photographer says. Ricardo smiles the grin of the rare teenager, full of confidence. I try to be, says the 18-year-old. But great discussion and definitely a thorough one. But let's see what else we got to see about this young man. Says his voice lacks any hint of hesitation as he understands something no one else knows. Just 2 weeks ago, Pepe made the momentous choice between two countries and joined the USMNT, a team trying to shake off its failures to qualify for the last World Cup. He has proved to be a revelation, scoring a crucial goal in the USA's win over Honduras on September 8th, fulfilling the promise he makes to his family before each game. I'm going to score. I'm going to score. I'm going to score. Even as his entire world is changing, even as he prepares for another round of games this week that will hopefully take him and his teammates to Qatar 2022, he seems so calm and peaceful. It's like he's always known it was just a matter of time and hard work before the attention would come. Yet his and his family's sacrifices would eventually lead them out of El Paso to here, and then from here, he and maybe they too will go somewhere else, somewhere further than the 10-hour drive between this place and home. So El Paso has definitely got a large land population, and it does look like he's trying to be a hero of both his community and of the world, and is definitely trying to do some positive things within the U.S. as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this way and everything, and what goes on in that sense as well. So yeah, it's a fascinating article about this road and then just his road in general. But I will definitely be bringing some attention to that later on, and hopefully we'll be learning more about the unstoppable dreams of this person who is definitely very powerful and looks like he's got some good hope and definitely is hoping to do some remarkable things in the world of hockey and all of that. So definitely something that folks may want to continue to pay attention to and let us know their thoughts of those things as well. I just said I was going to check and see if there was any news out of the world of cricket before we get ready to wind down this particular edition. And all of that is we made our picks, told you that we've been eliminated in our fantasy and a number of other things as well. So we're going to see who's actually going to be playing in the next round. I know I'm not playing, but who will be playing and all of that. Uh, there is definitely some interesting things coming up, even in the world of cricket. Matter of fact, I saw an article that looked like it might even have an American tie. So we're going to see if we can pull that up and see what that is all about and what's going on in that relationship. Matter of fact, we've got all kinds of games going on, but folks are always. Hmm. So let's see what else we can find in the world of sports that y'all might be interested in the sense of that's right, we were looking up cricket. That's what we were doing. We were checking cricket and not the animal, but we were checking out cricket, the sport, and seeing what they had to say about that and any news that may be coming out of that sport. That's what we were doing. We're checking out cricket, and we may also check out rugby as well, because we do know that some of these teams are playing. They're doing some amazing things, and of course, cricket is a sport that a lot of people are giving attention to. That's right. Now we're going to find out this article about Youth to the Fore, as there was a match between um, USA and Ireland and all of that. So apparently there was a match that involved the USA. Let's see what this says. On the American sports calendar, the time between Christmas and New Year's is typically reserved for college football bowl season, blockbuster made for TV NBA holiday matchups, and the tail end of the NFL regular seasons. Local cricket administrators are hoping to carve out their own niche in the landscape over the traditional Boxing Day period in a country where the particular holiday doesn't even exist, as Ireland gets to set to take on host USA in sunny South Florida in a series of T20Is and ODIs stretching from December 22nd, so that'll be tomorrow, to the 30th. There are a lot of historic firsts set to happen in Florida during the series. At the top of the list, this will be the first bilateral match that USA hosts against a full member on home soil. Broward County Stadium has seen its fair share of full member cricket over the last decade, starting with New Zealand and Sri Lanka in 2010, before later visits included West Indies, India, and Bangladesh. USA were regulated to spectator status, hiding in the background, but on this occasion, they'll be taking center stage with their far more illustrious opponent. On their Irish season, there won't be the first visit that their team has ever made to the U.S. Way back in 1879, the Gentlemen of Philadelphia hosted the Gentlemen of Ireland in Germantown, Pennsylvania, a place once known as the hotbed of American cricket. The rivalry between the two sides continued into the early 20th century, including a 3-day affair at Germantown in 1910, where the famed John Park King took 10 for 53 in the first inning and a hat trick in the second as part of an inning win for the host. A week later, the American legend took 7 for 48 before he scored an unbeaten 54 in reply to set up another inning win as King capped off his all-around show with another 4 for 12 in the second inning. Ireland's last tour to the USA in Britain was also their first against an official USA national team, as they made it out of the West Coast to play under the Hollywood sign at Griffith Park. Brendan O'Brien opened the batting, scoring 21. A legendary bowler and future Ireland team manager Roy Torrens top scored with 24 as number 9. At number 9, as Ireland struggled again in a 3-day match, coming in a 42-run win for the hosts. A lot has changed in the nearly half century since then. Ireland is no longer doormat for the USA. In the D20 era, Ireland has never lost to the USA, trouncing them on 4 consecutive occasions at T20 World Cup qualifier tournaments from 2010 to 2015. The O'Brien era appears to have finally come to an end as well. Brendan's son, Niall, and Kevin, for so long mainstays of the last 2 decades in Irish colors, who both made legendary contributions on Ireland's road to test status, are no longer on the squad. So that's just some news about some other things that are going on and how cricket is getting ready to come here to the USA and have a very big match and all of that. So that'll be exciting to see what goes on in that regards. I think I'm gonna check and see if I see anything going on that looks very interesting in the world of maybe tennis and boxing. And then we're getting ready to get on out of here, as we've talked about a couple of sports that folks may be interested in or not interested in, as the case may be, and all of that. So let's see what new news we might have for tennis and everything, including a tennis player that was saying that they were abused in the tennis ranks. So Ping Shua tells Singapore newspapers that she never said she was sexually assaulted. Social media post in November said differently. Chinese tennis star Ping Shua has denied saying she was sexually assaulted, despite a November social media post attributed to her that accused a former top Communist Party official are forcing her into sex. The Linhai Xiaobo Chinese language newspaper posted a video of Ping, it says, was taken Sunday in Shanghai, in which she said she has been mainly staying at home in Beijing, but was free to come and go as she chose. First of all, I want to emphasize something that is very important. I have never said that I wrote that anyone sexually assaulted me. I need to emphasize this point very clearly, Ping told the newspaper's reporter. The WBA, in response to the interview, says it remains concerned about Ping's well-being and ability to communicate without censorship or coercion. As we have consistently stated, these appearances do not alleviate or address the WBA's significant concern about her well-being and ability to communicate without censorship or coercion. The WBA said in a statement to multimedia outlets, "We remain steadfast in our calls for a full, fair, and transparent list and everything." So, like I said, I did put some Democrats on there, that being Obama. So I've heard some people say that you can't have one's problem without having the other's problem as well, but who knows? The reporter did not ask how or why the lengthy and highly detailed November 2nd post appeared or whether her account had been hacked, because that could be something that came. It could be a hack attack. Who knows? But if you got any thoughts on any of these sports news or any of these sports thoughts going on, definitely let us know. Let us know your most important sport and the sports that you like the most and all of that. So we're going to wind down, maybe see if there's anything going on in the boxing world that folks might be interested in learning more about. And then we're going to ready to wrap it up. Hey, by the way, did you know that the women's boxing pound for pound ranking? There is, right, a pound for pound ranking even in women's boxing. And Amanda Serrano makes a big move in that category after an impressive win. So apparently, Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, and Amanda Serrano continue to lead the way in the ESPN's women's pound for pound ranking. But now we have a new order. Serrano, 42-1 with 30 knockouts, dominated a game Miriam Cadera on December 18th to set up a potential mega fight against undisputed light champion Katie Taylor next year in what could be the biggest women's boxing match of all times. The victory also earned her the number 2 spot over Shields. ESPN writer Michael Roston has Serrano ranked as number 3 on his list, but admits any of the top 3 could be on the top spot at any given day. The top 3 in the pound for pound are getting tougher and tougher to judge, Roston said. At this point, you can make a credible case for any of Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, or Amanda Serrano to be the best in the world. And a year from now, this entire list could be shaken up. That's the potential of depth women's boxing is finally starting to show. Another fighter making a move is Sinessa Estrada, who defended her WBA strawweight title with an impressive 4th round KO over Maria Santoso on December 18th. So definitely looks like some people are moving up in the ranks there in women's boxing, just like they're doing it in men's boxing as well. So that is some of the news from the world of women's boxing. Like I said, try to bring you different things from different sports at all times and things along those lines. So like I said, get ready to get on out of here. It's been a fun almost hour of sports reporting and giving you a sense of what's going on in the sports world. If you're rooting for a particular bowl team, I hope that they are doing well and that they will make it and everything. If you're trying to get your team into the playoffs, and there are still a whole lot of teams that are on the verge of either making it or not making it. And of course, there's a game today that was postponed and will be played this afternoon, as far as I know, that being the Washington football team against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I actually know folks that root for both of those teams. So I will be interested to see what their reaction is based on the game and all of that. But right now, I'm going to bring you up some art and maybe a couple of announcements, and we're going to get on out of here.
Welcome to Indie Artists United. I am Victor Jones, the founder, and we're here to make your dreams a reality. Are you an independent music artist with stagnant streams on musical platforms, lack of followers, lack of support, and now your motivation for music has drained you? Well, listen, all you need is a support system and a network who really cares about you. Look no further, because IAU is the place for you. IAU offers the artist the IAU playlist, where diverse listening audiences streams the playlist to increase royalties for each artist. Then, the Artist of the Week. Also, the award show, where each artist has the opportunity to become a chart topper. Then, networking, and collaborations with other artists throughout the world. What are you waiting on? Join us today. It's all free. All you have to do is download the app. Don't meet me there. Beat me there.
Who Am I? By Victor Jones. Who am I? That's a good question. First off, I'm not a Republican or Democrat, as if to boast or celebrate either party doing anything great to establish equality for my people since the birth of this Western civilization. So who am I? Not an Elk or a Mason, and desire not to be part of any so-called organization. But the question still remains, who am I? To define my identity by my last name, which comes from a former slave master, I am a son of a slave. Being free from slavery, I become a son or a victim of Jim Crow. Abolished from Jim Crow, I became a son of segregation, or should I say a last class citizen. From the passing of the Civil Rights Act, which overruled segregation, I became a son of incrimination. So who am I? With such a defining question, it becomes very complex to understand who I really am, with all of my history being buried on the shores of West Africa, where it all began. Kush, Ethiopia, Egypt, Ghana. So where do I come from? I didn't get a chance to choose what race, creed, or color I would possess. So here I am today, born a black man in a so-called democracy that continually proves its hypocrisy towards my black nature. A government where the original philosophy, doctrine, and scientific explanation is a downplay of equality for my existence, producing hopelessness and destruction to my identity of who and what I am. The question still remains, who am I?